We're about to go live. I am going to be talking about holistic design and coming to consciousness. This is something that I have been... Hi, Paisley. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for being here. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes to see, to allow some time for other people to come on and join. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and we can go ahead and sort of talk about that before other people get here. I'm really excited about this topic because it blends two things that are most important to me. Hi, Catherine. So good to see you. And that is holistic design and expanding our consciousness. And what I realized is the whole point of holistic design and why we want our space to feel good, well, it's that we want to feel good, right? So our home can help us feel good in the present moment. The next thing is that our home can help us expand our consciousness. And so when you think about it, the way I look at it is the reason why we're here on this planet in the human form right now is because we're meant to enjoy our life. We're meant to feel good. And we're also meant to evolve into our highest potential. And so how do we do that? Like, how do we do that when we have real life concerns, when we have a job, when we have family, when we have distractions, when life just happens? And so if you think about it in terms of human ecology, we are creatures. We are creatures like other living things on this planet. And how we flourish, how we feel, how we thrive is determined by our environment. And our home is our primary environment. And so the first thing we want to do is do no harm, right? So we want to make sure that our space is not a cost to our mental well-being, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to protect our mental well-being. And the thing I love about holistic design is that we're using our outer space to support our interior space. And so the whole goal of holistic design is to understand how the environment, your living environment of your home, is communicating with you on conscious and subconscious and energetic levels. And so just like medicine, the first thing we want to do is do no harm. Okay, so we want to make sure that our home isn't coming at a cost to our mental well-being. Because here's the thing, I'm going to put my tea down. So I want you to think of a sphere. And at the top of the sphere at like 12 o'clock is your physical experience, what you take in with your five senses. And then at 3 o'clock, so I'm opposite, right? So at 3 o'clock in the sphere, that is what we take in mentally. And then depending on what we're taking in from our environment and how we are translating that into meaning affects how we feel. And so when we look at our home, we want to be really discerning with how we are taking in our environment. And is this creating mental anxiety? Is this creating mental frustration, annoyance, pressure, whatever it is, whether it's a thing of clutter on the floor? And that's the thing to recognize in our home is that every single thing in our home is communicating something to us. Every single thing has its own message, its own recording. And it's how we interpret, how it's translating to us that's affecting what we're thinking about, which is affecting what we're feeling about, which is affecting our energy and ultimately our consciousness. And so in this way, the design of our home is a really simple portal to access our consciousness and to clean up our consciousness. Our consciousness is clean, but if you think of it as it's been gooped with all of these beliefs that are held in the subconscious mind, and our home offers us this map or this blueprint that helps us access those areas of the subconscious mind that keep tripping us up and getting in the way of what we want. And so this is where we merge design and holistic design with consciousness. Now, why do we even care about this? So if we are going to become self-actualized, if we are going to become our highest self, we want to clean up our consciousness. And I said, okay, so I'm going to say that again. Our consciousness is totally clean. It's just gooped on with all of these elements of our subconscious that don't really belong to us, right? Our subconscious holds the 95% of our mind is in our subconscious, and it holds traumatic experience, and it holds the repetitive things that we do. But by and large, what the subconscious does is it promotes and perpetuates the programs and the things that we were taught within the first 7 years of our life. And why does it do this? Because it wants to keep us alive. Like the role of the subconscious mind is to keep us physically alive and to support our emotional survival. And our emotional survival is the protection of the ego, right? So it's to make sure that we are loved and that we belong. And so that's the real driver of the ego. And the ego isn't bad, right? Like it is what promotes our emotional survival. And the subconscious also promotes our physical survival. So I don't want to get off track here too much. So the job, the purpose of us being here is to feel good and to evolve into our highest potential. And we can be proactive about that, or we can just sort of it's not a bad thing, but haphazardly, we can just, without knowing, right? It's sort of like ignorance is bliss. We can just move along the currents of life, and life will lead us to wherever we're meant to go. Or we can be more intentional, and we can be more proactive and aware of our feelings, what we're moving towards, and our consciousness. And so our home really helps us bridge those two together. And so how does it do that? Our home is influencing how we think through the environment. Okay, so when you think of how you feel, there is a cue. There's an environmental cue that takes place, and that's informing what we're thinking about. Our home is full of environmental cues. And so what we want to do is just get really clear and tidy with what those cues in our home are communicating. And that's what holistic design is all about. Does anyone have any questions right now? If you have any questions, just throw them in the comments and I'll answer them as we go. So our environment, we take in our environment, and the trick is that our environment is informing how we feel. And what we want to do is we want to take the power back. We don't want the circumstances of our life determining how we feel, because that puts the power of our feelings outside of us, right? So I'm going to say that again just for clarification. So most people look to the circumstances happening in their outer life, in their outer environment, to determine how they feel, right? I look at my bank account to determine if I feel abundance or if I feel prosperity. I look in the mirror to see if I feel beautiful. I look at my friends and my relationships to feel loved and have a sense of belonging. And what we want to do is, and this goes to this duality of home, right? So we have our home, which is who we are on the inside, and then we have our physical residence. We want our physical residence to reinforce and encourage and support who we know ourselves to be on the inside. And so this is that duality of home, is how we feel on the inside is creating this channel for what's happening in our life. Okay, so this is the consciousness part. So we want to use the environment of our home to encourage, support, and perpetuate those things that we want. And the first thing we want is to feel good. And so first off, we want to make sure every room in our home leaves us with a net gain, okay? We don't want to experience a net loss. So you could go through every room in your home and just sit in the space and see how you feel. Do you feel good? Do you feel not good? Are there things in the room that are chattering to you, things that you don't want, thoughts that you don't like? You want to address that. And so just set a baseline in your home and each room in your home and just see how you feel. Does your home leave you at a net loss or a net gain? So that's the first thing. The next thing is you want to go through each room in your home and see if there's anything that brings up a negative feeling, thought, or memory. If there is, this is toxic clutter. This is like poison for our mind and our emotions. And so we want to make sure we get those out of our space. Once we do that, then we can start planting our intentions and our vision of our true self, or our knowledge of our true self, into that room, so our room becomes a reflection for what it is we want, okay? So the other thing that I want to share is, beginning on June 18th, I'm going to be offering a course called Blueprint for a Self-Designed Life. And over 6 weeks, we're going to look at each room in your home, how it relates to specific areas of your life. And we're going to clean that up. And I guarantee when you align your space with what you want, and when you understand the language your home is communicating with your subconscious, you're going to notice changes happening in your life. Like, it cannot not happen. And this is because of epigenetics and neuroplasticity. And if you're not familiar with epigenetics, first I want to say, go check out the work of Bruce Lipton. He's amazing. And in my mind, he's the godfather of epigenetics. And so basically, he studied stem cells, I think it was in the late 60s or early 70s. And he had, and I believe it was cancer stem cells in 3 different petri dishes. And what happened was he changed the environment within each petri dish. So exact same stem cells, 3 different environments. And what he discovered is that each one had a different outcome. So what does that mean for us? It means that we are the cells in the petri dish. We are made up of billions and billions and who knows how many cells. Somebody probably knows, but I don't. And our home is our petri dish. And so our home is a catalyst to what we're thinking about, what we're feeling about, and the energy that we're putting out. And so we want to be really mindful of the environment of our home, because it is propagating more of whatever it's creating. And this is subjective. There's different levels to it, but I can go into your space and it will communicate something to me if I were to live there that's very different than what it communicates to you, right? Like, rainbows and unicorns to one person might mean a lot of great things, and rainbows and unicorns to someone else could be absolutely horrific. And so it's a very subjective process. But there are universal themes as well, and there are primal themes as well. So I'm super excited about, it's a 6-week series. Each week, you're going to get a 10 to 15 minute video to review. And then we're going to have a group call where we get more in detail about the space and how it impacts you on these different levels. Manifesting is a big part of this, but I hate to even mention the manifesting part, because manifesting is just a natural outcome. And once you know and understand sort of the sequence of what happens prior to manifesting, then it's much more easy to organize and curate and design your space and your mind to support more of what you want. Okay, so we will be talking about that. So each week you get a 15-minute lesson, and then we're going to have a call to dive into it. And then the next day, we're going to do a room analysis. So each week we'll focus on a different room. You can bring your images and we will assess and curate as many rooms as we can in those sessions. So anyway, I'm super excited about it. I haven't done it in a while, but we're going to be going over all of these things. I'm going to share as much as I can about how you can work with each room in your home, knowing your intentions and your desires, and to clean it up so that you move with much less effort toward what you want, okay? And we'll get much more into that philosophy. Does anyone have any questions on holistic design and how it relates to expanding consciousness, or just any questions about some of the philosophy that I've been sharing? If not, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to post more about this course and how you can join me on June 17th. And it's going to be a room by room discovery into this connection between how your environment is informing what's going on within your mind, but also what's showing up in your life, and how to curate each room in your home so that it supports your life. And here's one thing that I didn't mention. Each area of your home is communicating to specific areas of your life. And I'll talk more about that, and we'll dive deeply into it in the Blueprint course, which opens now and begins on June 18th. But each room in our home relates to a specific area of our life. And so if we don't like what's going on within a specific area of our life, we can address that room to instigate change. And so I always say the easiest way I know to change our life for the better is within our home. Now, the most effective way to change our life for the better is to address the subconscious mind and to clean up all the erroneous programs and beliefs that are happening in the subconscious mind, because truly our mind is the only thing getting in the way of what we want. But it might be the simplest way, but it's definitely not the easiest way. The easiest way I know to change our life for the better is to address the space of our home, because the space of our home is in communication with our subconscious mind. And so we can access these hidden parts of the subconscious by looking at what our space is communicating to us, because we subconsciously curate and lay out our home and orient things within our home. We're doing it on a subconscious level. There's a reason why we're doing it, and it's telling us a story about our mind, but it's also perpetuating certain patterns of our life. And so if you imagine living in a home that's super cluttered and super jam-packed with furniture and things, that is going to have a very visceral effect on how we think and how we feel. And so we can easily influence and support and encourage how we want to feel by just addressing the space of our home, because we're physical beings. We're humans with 5 senses. We take in the world through our senses. And so we can do a lot of work on self-actualization and manifestation and consciousness. But if our home isn't supporting those same themes and those same desires, then it's like the hamster running in the wheel, or running up an escalator that's going down, right? Like we might be able to make progress, but we're going to be putting in a lot of effort. And so addressing the space of our home is a really great way to not have to put in so much effort. Our home can take a lot of the load just by us curating the space so it supports and it's aligned with our ideals and our intentions and our desires. So it's actually really, really simple, and it just takes a little bit of awareness, some attention, some curiosity, and then diving into the space, which is actually really inspiring and uplifting, because it feels good cleaning things out and clearing things out and aligning the space. But the thing is we notice immediate change. We notice immediate benefit, and it has lasting, like, residual effect. And it just, it's like this exponential effect that takes place once we align our space with what we want. So anyway, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to be posting and sharing links for how to access and get in on the course I'm offering. If you have any questions about it, if you don't throw them in the comments, you can DM me. And again, the Blueprint for a Self-Designed Life is a course that I'm live guiding for the first time ever. It begins June 18th. Every week you'll get a 15-minute lesson. So the first week is like 25 minutes of lessons. And then we're going to have a call where we dive into the material. And then the next day we'll have a call where we look at specific rooms and figure out ways to make sure that it's aligned with what you want. So it's going to be a really interactive, great community. And I hope you'll join me. Yeah. And again, if you have any questions, just throw them to my DM and I'll definitely get back to you. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a great day.